Yo, what's good guys? Mate's back. Another fragrance video. Third fragrance video this week. I almost can't believe it. Another new release has come in. Jean-Christophe again. This one, I was kind of like, do I buy it? Do I not? I had a feeling it wouldn't be something I like if it was very much in the style of a lot of like mainstreamy, like designer blue fragrances. I thought, I don't really want to sort of let myself down. But I was looking at it. I was, Jean-Christophe was being mentioned more and more in relation to the creation of this scent. So in the end, we went and bought it. We blind bought it. Did a few decants, so the sort of price was. But this is not an expensive scent, so either way, we're probably good to pass it on if we don't like it. So today we've got Frostbite, much anticipated release from the Aromatix line. Now I haven't tried any of his other scents. I haven't tried any of the other scents. They haven't really been on my radar, to be honest, but obviously I spoke about his collaborations with Jean-Christophe. He's promised like a whole line of scents with Jean-Christophe, basically. Changing the presentation, that's coming later in the year. Very hyped for that. Immediately, it's on my radar, sort of like the number one thing to look forward to in 2026, potentially. So, yeah, we're looking forward to that. But basically, when Frostbite dropped, and apparently this had been delayed a little while, was meant to launch last year, Frostbite dropped, and Fragrantica had Jean-Christophe as the nose. I was very surprised to see that, to be honest, because I didn't think he was the nose for that. He was never mentioned originally in relation to this scent. I would have thought that the Aromatix would have, pushed his name out there as sort of working with him, sort of earlier on. But for some reason, Jean-Christophe wasn't mentioned in relation to this until very recently. Obviously, his name appeared on Fragrantica as the nose for it. Aromatix himself has said a few things in some of the videos that, the creative Aventus, as he's sort of known for, made this scent. So as soon as it was sort of locked in that he was definitely the nose, I thought, we're going to get this. Just a little aside, actually. There's a chance that Jean-Christophe might have even done some of the other scents that were in the Aromatix line last year, because they don't have credited noses. They even have some IFF sort of captives in them. I actually pestered Jean-Christophe about this. I said, look, are you the nose on this scent and this scent? And to be honest, he didn't seem like he was too certain about it. Maybe because he does so many scents and he doesn't always know, where they end up kind of going and what bottles they're in. And obviously French Avenue, he's probably done, including the new ones, he's probably done quite a lot of stuff for them now. But there was one in particular called Sunkissed, and I saw that and I thought, these notes are pretty interesting. The way it's got sort of an ambertonic note, because that's, an IFF captive. I thought maybe Jean-Christophe did this. If not, almost certainly another IFF nose would have been the creator for that. So I'm not too sure, basically. Big question mark in my mind about the other Aromatix line, scents in his line prior to Frostbite. Because obviously Frostbite, it sounded like Frostbite was being worked on alongside those scents. So if Jean-Christophe was doing this one, maybe he did some of the other ones as well. Like I said, they don't have a credit. They don't have a nose on them. My little sort of says he probably did. Maybe Sunkissed, maybe some of the others. They have some of his type of notes in them. Maybe we'll never know. I certainly wasn't going to blind buy Sunkissed just to sort of, just to see, because I could probably figure it out from smelling it whether he was the nose, to be honest. But I wasn't going to blind buy that just to see. When we had Frostbite, which also has a great set of notes. It's definitely his creation. So today we're going to smell Frostbite. We're going to get into that. I'm going to tell you guys what I think. I'm going to be totally honest, totally brutal. If I think it's just designer slop, I'm going to tell you that. If I think it's, the greatest sort of blue fragrance ever, I'm also going to go tell you that. So quite exciting anyway. And just before we get to Frostbite, what I will do is just pull out a little something I received this week. Now, the last couple of videos I did, I talked about Ylang and Ambrato, which I was really impressed with. And I wasn't just saying that, I was really, that really impressed me enough that I wanted to buy a bottle of a very expensive niche fragrance. So Ylang and Ambrato and Lemon Puff, which I also was very much enjoying at the time. Now, Lemon Puff, I wore it a few times. It wears brilliantly on skin. The opening, particularly into the mid, is really pleasant. The only thing for me is the florals come out more and more, and it has sort of a little bit of an Ambrato vibe with the florals in the later dry down, and I didn't really kind of get on with that as much as I thought I might do. It's still very cozy smelling, but for me, it's a feminine fragrance. Like I said, I like the opening section. The dry down, it gets increasingly more how I would describe as floral and boxing sort of smelling. So lemon puff, I'm actually going to pass that on. I'm not going to keep hold of that. If anyone, anyone in the UK either wants it or wants to try it, I've got the bottle. But that one's not going to stay in the collection. Ylang and Ambrato, on the other hand, now I just randomly I was already looking for bottles of this because someone had sent me a link. And I think they'd found it on a site. Someone was reselling it for about 140, which I thought, that would be, for a retail pack, that would be maybe worth it. I said I could get the testers in the future, probably for about 100. I went on Vinted, searched Ylang and Ambrato, and it just so happened, perchance, maybe it was destiny, but there was a bottle on there for just about 100 quid, basically. 100 quid. It'd just been listed a few hours ago when I saw it. And yeah, we had to snap that one up. I actually did make a little cheeky offer, took a bit of money off it. But anyway, for about 100 quid, we got ourselves a bottle of Ylang and Ambrato. And it came through, and to be honest, the presentation, like the box for it, like the test, I think the testers come with cap. So if you can get a tester of this, all you're missing is this tiny little box. Really, this is not much of a, this is not really much of a box, to be honest. But the bottle itself is beautiful. Like I said, it's got those that little sort of medicine cabinet thing going on. Beautiful bottle, nice cap. It's not magnetic, but it's got a nice action as it sort of slides on, and the scent itself is absolutely incredible, guys. Like, this is getting, like I said in the initial video, this is my highest recommendation. Get your nose on this if you like the sound of sort of a woody, floral, tonka type scent. Very sexy, very mass appealing, bit unique. It is a niche line, but yeah, Ylang and Ambrato, absolutely. If you guys know what you like and if this sounds like something you might like, get your nose on this. It's awesome. I'm so happy to have a full bottle at sort of somewhere around a third of the retail price. To me, that's a bargain. Not that we won't be able to get testers of it in the future, but I've got it now and I'm super happy, and we're already rocking that. So Ylang and Ambrato. We picked that one up very quickly. Kind of lucky. I was willing to just sit on my little sort of set of samples, just sort of make them last and just try and sort of hold out for a tester. But yeah, very lucky to get a bottle of Ylang and Ambrato for that price. So anyway, today's vid, we got Frostbite. Now we've got the French Avenue presentation. For this, you guys might have seen my video on, what's that one, Scorpio. Now I did another video on French Avenue, praised the presentation. This is a hella nice presentation. Everything about it, the box it comes in, it's got this nice sort of matte, sort of smooth finish on the box. The box with this is actually, I don't know if my camera picks it up, but it's kind of like a turquoise sort of shade. I don't know if you can fully see that. A very nice turquoise shade to go along with the Frostbite, the icy, watery blue sort of theme to it. And then you pop it open and you've actually got the sort of bottle that makes part of the sort of front sort of label. So there it is. And the bottle's inside. Now, before we get into Frostbite, I'll give you guys the notes for it. Aromatix himself, I don't know if I should give any commentary on him. To be honest, I don't really follow that many quote-unquote influencer type people. I don't really have normally I don't have a very positive opinion on them because they're out there just sort of shilling niche brands a lot of the time. But Aromatix, he's a younger guy. He's clearly smelt, from all the videos he does comparing sort of, clones and things, from what I can tell, that's, one of the things he focused on is like good value fragrances. He must have smelled hundreds, thousands and thousands of fragrances. So whatever you guys, whatever people think of him, he smelt a lot of fragrances. So he clearly has developed his nose. This is where I come in. He clearly recognizes that Jean-Christophe is a really talented perfumer, if not, the sort of top perfumer that's out there at the moment. So he clearly has some sort of taste in my mind. So, I'm not sort of discriminating against someone who's an influencer just because he's out there hyping his own things. Why wouldn't you be? Especially when Jean-Christophe's involved. So, we get the bottle out. And you've got this big chunky bottle. Now this bottle, it's a nice bottle. It's very chunky. It's sort of nice square shaped. This sort of thing on the front with Aromatix. To be honest, this is not this is like a tiny bit sort of what I might call like tacky, I guess, but it's nothing sort of too horrible. Like, you know, the shine. I don't really like bottles with shiny things on them, so I wouldn't necessarily say this is my favourite ever bottle. But the glass itself, the chunky glass, quality atomizer. Yeah, this is a really nice presentation. Like the other French Avenue, it's very different to the other French Avenue presentation, the Scorpio. So all their bottles sort of vary. They obviously have a great production sort of pipeline to be able to produce these things, sell them at the prices they do. Just to give the price of this is at £45 UK. There's no quote unquote retail price, but it just seemed like the UK have quite a good hookup for the imports of these. There's numerous sort of sellers online, on eBay, on their own websites. I could even bulk buy this from a UK sort of wholesale if I wanted to. I could get this basically for far less than I even did. If I wanted to buy, you know, quite a few of them, I would be able to get this for a really good price. And to be honest, I probably, when the new ones drop later in the year, I'll probably be doing that. I'll probably be doing the bulk buy, probably buy, you know, I'll become a wholesaler myself, I'll become sort of a reseller. But it's very likely that in the future, I pick up, you know, a lot of these Aromatix French Avenue releases. I probably do the bulk buy and just sort of, you know, decant them and resell the bottle, you know, just become a source of it myself, really. Just because I'm pretty hyped about those, and there's going to be 3 or 4 that I'm probably going to be like, yes, these are blind buys, and if I just buy a couple of bottles of each, that's automatically sort of, you know, I've crossed the threshold and I can do a bulk order from one of the wholesalers. So anyway, Aromatix Frostbite. He spoke about this, I think, in numerous videos going back to last year, hyping it. You know, people, you can see on his Instagram there's shorts with it. It's giving people the sort of the exclusive sniffs, and they're all universally saying it's good as they do. They say, oh, this is amazing. It's just like, you always get a bit of that. So today I'm going to smell it. I'm going to try and cut through the hype and tell you, is this something that's genuinely worthwhile of any sort of hype? Is it good? You know, is it synthetic leaning? My main worry is it too strong and synthetic, because he's hyped it as a very, you know, all of his fragrances are supposed to be, you know, have a lot of strength and performance and push. That doesn't really tie in with the stuff that I like from Jean-Christophe. So where are we going to go with this? We'll find out. So anyway, the notes for this is clearly a fresh fragrance. I'll give you guys the notes. There's a lot of notes. To be honest, the abundance of notes here doesn't really play into how this smells in my mind. So anyway, the top notes: blueberry, apple, mango, bergamot, cardamom. It's probably one of the best lineups of top notes I've ever seen in a perfume. Like blueberry, so berries, apple. Jean-Christophe is the king of apple notes. Low-key why Aventus is so good. Mango. How's he going to do a mango? Because I don't think I've smelt a mango note from him in any sort of perfume. So that's very interesting, because mango is meant to be the dominant note here. Bergamot, you expect some citrus, and cardamom. So there's going to be a little bit of a spicy touch potentially. Middle notes, whole bunch of florals as you expect: jasmine, violet, geranium, pink pepper, lavender, vetiver. That's just a whole bunch of floral notes that we're not really gonna, I don't really feel like that's a unique sort of middle section. It's just a vaguely sort of floral sort of section. And then the base notes: vanilla, amber, sandalwood, cedar, patchouli, ambergris, oak moss. Again, just a spectrum of base notes, knowing his style, we can just expect the base have a little touch of sweetness, and probably mostly amber / ambroxan leaning, with a touch of woods as well. And sort of, you know, the base, we don't expect too much of an elaborate sort of dark leaning base. That could just be a base in any typical designer scent, really. It's more going to be about how is it judged, how does it come across in this particular scent. So I'm going to spray it on, tell you what I get. Apparently they were worked on this scent for a long time to get it right. Neeb did say in one of his videos that, you know, they ditched it, they weren't going to do this one, and then they came back to it and they had different versions, and in the end he picked out, you know, the final version. I can't talk to that because, you know, but I've got the final version here. It's a brand new bottle. I have decanted some, so I have sprayed it a bit now. It's supposed to be an extrait de parfum. What does that mean in this case? What does it say on the bottle? It says made in UAE. It's actually being produced in 2026 by the look of it. So this is fresh off the, you know, this is fresh. This juice is really fresh juice. yeah, it's only made last month, so they've been pumping these out in January and then obviously distributing them to, you know, all the places that sell it. So it's a brand new release. It's just like made it to the UK this week. In fact, I think the UK, one of the earlier sort of countries to get it. I think there's a very good link up between, you know, the UAE, the French Avenue brand. They have, like I said, they've got numerous copious resellers in the UK who get this brand. So there's your intro on Frostbite. Let's get it. Let's have a smell. Let's have a smell. I have smelled it already. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I'd saved it for the video now. But anyway, let's have a smell. And the opening is absolutely juicy. It's fruity. It's unmistakably a Jean-Christophe opening. Now, if Jean-Christophe hadn't been on the sort of, you know, hadn't been attached to this and I'd have smelt this somehow, I probably would never have found it otherwise, to be honest. But if I'd have smelt this without knowing he was the nose, knowing he might have been the nose potentially, I'd have immediately known he was the nose from this opening. This opening is absolutely juicy and just fruity and so well balanced, and it's just mouth-watering, and it's the mango that you get. I'm gonna be spraying this a lot, by the way. This video is going to be all about spraying this stuff. Let's give it a spray. It's juicy. Someone said they get like an overripe mango just you know, as they blast the opening. There is a sort of a sweet mango, and then it just sort of settles into all the other fruits very, very quickly. The berries are there. The apple is a little bit there. It's not super noticeable, to be honest. The main note in this is the mango off the top. The mango note. Mango and the berries more than the apple. A little bit of the citrus vibe. It's sparkling, it's fresh, it's fruity. One of the best openings I think I've smelled in... let's just compare this to blue fragrances in general, because that's what Neeb said this was supposed to be. It was supposed to be your just versatile scent that you'd pick up, you know, just fresh you up, go to the gym, pop out. It's that sort of, that's the sort of, you know, the usage for this scent. I prefer this to any designer scent in this style that I probably ever smell. And because, you know, because when do these scents really sort of hit the market? Dior Sauvage, and then we get YSLY, and we get copious sort of things which are in that style, flankers to those. That's the sort of style, the blue, the quote-unquote, the blue fragrance. A style that I really don't like very much. I find them a bit heavy-handed, especially YSLY. I find that to be very heavy-handed. Thankfully, this is absolutely nothing like those. It's so much more sort of bright and juicy and fruity. It really lifts itself from that crowd of scents. It smells absolutely delicious off the top. It doesn't smell like a particularly complicated scent either. I kind of hinted at this, but that set of notes that I read, the top notes are the ones I feel like there's exciting things going on. The middle and the base feel like they're there to complement that, to anchor it, but it's not one that is sort of blowing your mind with elaborate sort of like things you can smell. What I can smell from this, I mostly smell the mango note, I smell the berries, the floral section is just there to give a bit more of a cleaner kind of finish to the scent. Definitely when it dries down, there's more of a sign of a cleanness, a slight soapiness to it. And then the dry down, we've got the trademark Ambroxan, which is the dominant note. A tiny touch of vanilla. It's very soft. It's not much vanilla, to be honest. It's mostly just Ambroxan and a little bit of woods. But the Ambroxan is moderately dosed. It's not super strong here. It's really not that strong. It's just, as Jean-Christophe's a master at, he's balanced that with the sort of the fruity notes that are in there. So really, you're just getting the most sort of natural smelling, and I'll say natural because it's, you know, it is a little synthetic leaning given the style of scent, but for this style of scent, it's very, very natural smelling. It doesn't upset me at all. It just smells super clean and fruity. And then there's just a little touch of like soapiness to sort of set the cleanness off, but that is really pleasant. When I was decanting earlier, I was sort of wiping the decants with one of my sort of t-shirts that I had lying around, just to sort of, you know, clean the sort of tops of them. And when it got on I don't even know where it is now, but anyway, when it gets on fabric, When it gets on fabric, it smells even better. It has a really nice, clean, soapy finish when it gets on a piece of clothing. So yeah, this is pretty much, and yeah, it's just so juicy, and that mango note, like I said, the dominant sort of note is the mango. That sort of orange, sort of tropical, sort of fruity tone to it sticks around with the entire scent. I wouldn't even call this a blue scent, to be honest. The only thing that's blue about it is that it has ambroxan and it smells slightly soapy. But it's nothing like those other blue scents. It's so much more pleasant. It's really well blended. I just can't believe it. I can't believe how good. Well, I can believe it because Jean-Christophe made it. But considering, you know, the hype of the brand, you know, Aromatix is obviously he's out there hyping it up. You know, I can't speak to his other scents, but I imagine that this has to be his best release. It has to be like one of his best releases. I think there's about like 10 scents in his line altogether. But this isn't. I mean, I would like to try some of the others, to be honest. But for you know, for a first impression to his fragrances, this is awesome. This is totally great. I wish I could have come on and said something a bit more interesting in terms of critiquing it, but for what this is going for, this is absolutely perfect. It's perfect. It really is. And I've got reference points. I've got all of Jean-Christophe's other scents. I've actually got a scent of his he released in 2016, which has berries and apple. And you could say that this is an updated version of that, because the DNA is kind of like the sort of berries and sort of fruity thing that you get. It's a little bit similar, but this is ramped up a lot more. It has stronger performance. Now the performance, now there was a lot of stuff about, you know, all the fragrances in this line being beast mode and being super strong. I'm going to say that that's not 100% what I'm getting from this off the top in a good way. I wouldn't like this if it was beast mode. You know, if it was YSL-Y levels of just sort of like fixatives and sticky sweetness and syntheticness in the base, I probably wouldn't like this. I'm glad to say it's not like that. But on the flip side, it's not a beast mode. So you guys who are looking for this, thinking it's going to be a beast mode, it's not a beast mode, but the performance is very pleasant. I can already sort of sense this is creating a nice scent bubble. It's going to be long lasting. It smells amazing. I'd rather it smells amazing that goes beast mode. That was my main concern with this, to be honest. I was worried. All the stuff he said about beast mode and YSL-Y, I was like, oh, this is probably, you know, if Jean-Christophe's made a scent in that style and really gone all in on making something like that, maybe it's not going to, you know, maybe I'm not going to like it. Maybe I'm even going to dislike it if it smells like that. But this is nothing like that. It's much more softer. It's much more reserved than the likes of YSL-Y or even Dior Sauvage. It doesn't have that sort of diffusiveness per se, but it has just enough that it creates a nice little bubble of fruitiness around you. It smells really nice. I'm just going to keep repeating the same sort of words about this, but it just smells damn good. Like I said, it's fruity, it's fresh, it's clean, it's a little bit soapy. There's some ambroxan there, but it's not that much to make it sort of smell, you know, just sort of to make you sort of get a headache. It's very, very well balanced, very finely tuned. This is low key for a masterpiece in this style of scent. I've said it. There you go. There you go. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And this isn't even the line that's, you know, the one that's going to get the new packaging and Jean-Christophe's going to be mentioned, you know, more front and center. This is something that, you know, has come out before that, which I wasn't really expecting because we didn't know the nose on it. But the scent's amazing. The scent's amazing. So my 2 cents on it is that the scent's amazing. I put it out there. I state my sort of my noses. If anyone's out there who sort of respects what I say and sort of values my judgment, this is blind buy, guys. This is absolutely, if you like a fresh scent, you like a fruity scent, you don't, you know, you like the ambroxan notes. Basically, what he said about this being sort of an equivalent to Aventus, and I'm not saying this is as good as Aventus necessarily, but I'm saying the versatility of it is very much in that ballpark. Universally appealing. It's not overly sweet. That's the thing I'm really impressed by. I'm so impressed that he's got those fruity notes in there with a sort of a decent depth, and it doesn't come across as too sweet. If anything, it's a bit more soapy than it is sugary. So the sugariness, the sweetness is very well balanced in here. I absolutely love the scent. gone online and bought another bottle immediately. That's how, you know, and when something is this price and it's this good, like I said, I've decanted it. I could decant some more if anyone wants some, but I'm happy to just buy another bottle, and I'm so happy that something from sort of, you know, a quote unquote alternative brand like French Avenue, which is you know, it's competing. They're trying to compete, I guess, against other designer brands that have you know, sense at this price level. But if you go into Boots, you go into a retail store in the UK, you'll find most of the sort of big brands, Dior, you know, D&G, Versace, Armani, you know, all these sort of brands have things at the sort of price level, which is probably quite a bit more than this. And the scents aren't as good. So what I'm saying is French Avenue with this sort of thing are absolutely putting to shame, you know, the bigger designer brands. You know, they've got their own distribution channels, so they don't necessarily, you know, appear with all those other brands. But I just feel like people that are checking for those brands, and I see it in the fragrance groups that I'm in. Like if this was to be the latest sort of D&G, you know, light blue, tropical fruit sort of flanker, like everyone would be sort of interested in it immediately, and I'd have sold the whole bottle in decants, and it would be like the biggest sort of hype train ever. But because it's for this brand, and you know, it's attached to a quote unquote influencer, then I feel like these scents don't get judged as fairly as they should do. So I wanted to come on very early on to give my, you know, to give my 2 cents because of how good the scent is, and it's a genuine opinion. And I'm not, you know, one of his friends or something. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys Jean-Christophe's scents, and I think this is absolutely amazing. And in this instance, at least, what he said about it being sort of, you know, 10 out of 10 and being, you know, universally appealing and being amazing, all this stuff that you see in his videos is absolutely correct. It's absolutely true. So he's, as a sort of a reviewer and an influencer, he's gone up in my estimation massively. Like, you know, fair enough, I'm not maybe his target market. It's mostly for the, you know, the younger crowd, and you know, there's a big market there that's growing, so I can see why, you know, that sort of, you know, brands like French Avenue and the sort of clone houses, they're a very accessible way for younger people who don't want to spend hundreds of pounds or dollars on niche fragrances necessarily, so they're going to be more likely to buy something like this. This is such a good entry point to fragrances in general, you know, to high quality, well blended fragrances. You can buy this and you've already got something that's better than the best designer scents. You've already got something that's probably better than most, to be honest, it's probably better than most niche fragrances that you can buy that are like Fresh and Broxham fragrances. That's how good this is. That's how good Jean-Christophe is. So yeah, that's hats off to him. Hats off to Aromatix for recognising, you know, recognized game. He's obviously, his nose is good enough to where he smelt the stuff that Jean-Christophe's made and noticed, much like I have, that there's something extra special about how he approaches perfume creation and the kind of things he makes. They're more original, they're better blended, and he's gone all in. He's, you know, as anyone, you know, who sort of, you know, gets behind their own sort of, you know, truth, he's gone all in and gone straight to make a bunch of scents with him. You know, he's honed in and said, I want to do scents with this guy. He's going to make my new, you know, fragrances. And to be honest, where else can you go from there after that? He's already got the best perfumer, you know, and it's not necessarily the best recognised perfumer. People like Quentin Bish and, you know, these other people, Alberto Marias, these are quote-unquote bigger names, but they're not better perfumers. I can tell you that for a fact, from what I can smell. They're certainly not better perfumers. Just follow the trail. You know, if you really want the best perfumers out there, follow Pierre Bourdon's sort of lineage of, you know, you'll find, you know, and it even goes all the way back to Edmond Rudiska, Pierre Bourdon, and then there's a few people from Pierre Bourdon who were in the industry who learned from him. Jean-Christophe was the sort of the main one, the first one. There's a couple of other ones. You know, if you're interested, you can find this out for yourself. But, you know, for me, Jean-Christophe is the best at creating sort of these fruity, fresh, and Broxham type fragrances, the kind of things Pierre Bourdon was making for quite a while. He's, you know, but obviously new ingredients, new captors have come along, and Jean-Christophe just continuing that tradition with these lovely, sort of delightful, like, you know, not even expensive, but just beautifully blended, fruity creations. And they're the things I like the most. I was so excited to get my nose on this today. As soon as I sprayed it and got that mango opening. In fact, we're going to have to spray. Keep spraying it. That opening. Oh, that opening, guys. That opening. That juicy opening. This is not harsh or synthetic at all to my nose. This is pure joy in a bottle. This mango note is low-key the best mango note that I've smelled. It's so good. It's so good. The way it's blended in there with those berries and the sort of Aromatix, you've cooked, dude. Jean-Christophe and Aromatix, they've cooked with this. I couldn't be happier. I'm just going to go in circles if I keep talking about this. So yeah, guys, there's my recommendation. Blind buy away. I'm not even going to say this time if you like this, if you like that. It's as simple as just blind buy it. If you like a fresh fragrance, just blind buy this. Compare it against any fragrance you'll find in a retail store, and you'll find this comes up trumps. This is so good. And I'm so happy that it's available, you know, for a low price. Anybody can get their nose on this, can buy a bottle. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be, you know, you just need to be interested in fragrances. And, you know, maybe, hopefully, he will be, you know, his sort of line and stuff. That will be a way that people learn about Jean-Christophe. Obviously, Aventus, but we've gone past Aventus now. I know it's always like he's a creative of Aventus, and whenever I see that, I just think he's made quite a few things, more things than Aventus. But I guess to get people in the door, he's made Aventus, but he's made this. He's made numerous other things. You can find the videos about many other things he's made. Let's give this guy his flowers, because he's absolutely killing it. This is his prime. I'm enjoying this like hell. And yeah, I can't wait for the rest of the Aromatics. Like, I really can't wait for those guys. I can't wait for the new ones to come out. They're going to have better bottles. And the scents themselves, I'm not sure if this juice that's in this one is IFF juice, if he's just made the formula and the sort of, it's been, the actual juice oil is being sort of sourced elsewhere. So potentially there's another big bump in sort of quality to come. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. This may be that it's the juices from France, from IFF, and it's, you know, just bottled in the UAE. I'm not too sure. There's certainly IFF captives in some of the earlier ones, so perhaps they are already just IFF juice, because the grow release that's coming, I think, in the next few weeks, that has definitely got some IFF sort of materials in it. So maybe they are just all coming from IFF now. I'm not too sure, but this is beautiful scent. I didn't want to spend too much time saying how it smelled, describing it, because I think people need to smell it. You need to smell it. You absolutely have to smell this. Get this mango note. Oh, that mango note. Guys, this guy is so good with fruity notes. Pineapple with Aventus. We've got grapefruit in a more citron. We've got lychee in Rose de Matan. We've got mango in this. He's got all of these fragrances where his interpretation of a particular fruit or fruity note is just so realistic and juicy. That rhubarb in Match Point Cologne, and you know, Match Point Cologne's got the juicy rhubarb. So good. I'm so happy with this. Like I said, I've got another bottle coming. We're going to be spraying away, enjoying the hell out of it, and yeah, my highest recommendation. Any questions about the scent? Hit me up in the comments. I'm more than happy to sort of talk about this, because this is mind-blowingly good. And when you factor in the price, it's just another level. It's just an absolute other level to what you can otherwise get. Maybe your tastes have to be a bit more in line with mine, like in how Jean-Christophe scents are blended. But to me, that's just a sign of like you've smelt enough things. You know what sort of really good versus what's just sort of like run of the mill. So yeah, French Avenue, Aromatix, Frostbite, boom. There's a hype train for you. I'm not saying it's my favourite fragrance ever, but it's easily the best blue fragrance I've smelled. Easily. It's not even close. And it's also the best mango. So there you go. Frostbite. Get yourself a bottle, hopefully. And we'll see you on the next one.